live. We're live.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to another edition of the Triple Profits Podcast. Soon to be the #1 small business podcast. All right. So we're talking into existence as always. To my right, I don't know if it's to his right, but to my right, we got my big brother Marcus, the money man. To my bottom left, we got Devontae, the guru. And today we have a special guest, someone that's very near and dear to me, very close to me. We go all the way as far back as high school. I've watched this young woman blossom into an awesome, not just person, but entrepreneur / corporate killer. She has been doing her thing as far as helping, especially people of color, people that look like us, learn how to budget, save money, build their credit, build their career, learn how to manage their day, and build a resume. My wonderful friend, Shannon Christopher. Welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. So thanks, Shannon. Thank you for coming on. You want to go ahead and give us a quick intro on who you are and what you do.
Well, I am Shannon Christopher of Shannon Christopher Consulting. First and foremost, I'm a corporate professional. Again, I've been in healthcare administration for over 20 years now. And currently I'm working with doctors. About 4 years ago, I started a consulting business just out of my passion for helping people, and decided to monetize the advice and services that I was providing, that I've been providing for quite some time, to friends and family, and just decided to expand on it and make it official. So I am a consultant, a professional services consultant, with a focus on career building as well as finances. So I am not a financial advisor. I'm a financial encourager.
I like that. I like that. Disclaimer, smooth, very smooth. So let's kick it back. Start a little from the beginning. So one, I want to know, where did that passion come from? Like, where did that start? Did you see a gap in the marketplace that needed to be filled, or was it something personal experience that made you decide that you needed to kind of help her?
It stemmed from my own upbringing. I'll just say it. I was one of those top-notch students who had a thing for grammar. And all of my friends came to me, and, I was doing proofreading, and I was doing editing of different papers. I may have written a few papers for friends and family in high school and in college. And I was passionate about helping because I wanted for my people to excel. I didn't just want them to get the grade. I wanted them to get the best grade possible. And if there was any way possible that I could help them, I was willing to do that. So I did certain services, just proofing and editing. And then when I got out of high school, I was a parent. I had a daughter at 15. So I had to kind of get it out the mud. And through struggles of my own, I had to work with what I had. And that meant I started on welfare. So I was on a limited income, and looking at the generational cycles, what was passed down to me wasn't good financial foundations. So through that, finding ways to help supplement my income just drove me to figure out ways to monetize the favors that I was giving friends and family. So as a single parent, I was just trying to figure it out, and got into the corporate world, and eventually decided that I was still passionate about helping people and trying to figure out at what capacity. So I just started the business just on a whim, just trying to figure out how to make extra money using my gifts and talents to help others.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Devontae.
Well, it's funny because I was going to ask a question, but I had a question when you said made the distinction that you're a financial encourager versus a financial advisor. Why did you choose that wording as an encourager? What does that mean to you?
Well, I don't have the official training to be an advisor, and I don't even really want to be an advisor. I just
Exactly.
I want to encourage people to be good stewards of what they have. And there's a stigma about financial advisors where people think they have to have a certain amount of money to talk to people about their money. And for me, it was because I came with an unstable background. My mother said, credit is not important. Black people are known to have bad credit, so it is what it is. So that was my mindset coming up. But as a single parent and learning that credit is important in some areas, I figured I needed to learn what I wasn't taught by my family. And through that, I did take certain trainings to become a facilitator for financial education, budgeting, credit worthiness, all of those things. But my passion comes from helping people that had the same mindset that my mom did and that I was raised with, to change that up and turn the mindset into something that is more focused on doing different things.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because a lot of times when it comes to finances, people do not want to look at their finances. It's not a very exciting thing to look at those numbers when they're not looking so good.
They usually going backwards.
So yeah, they decent encouraging, definitely, So I think it's great that you chose that title. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Marcus, did you have something, Marcus?
I was gonna say, mom at 15, I wasn't ready to be a parent at 25 now. And going into some kind of the line that you went into and helping people with their personal finances, I can understand how you got there, just out of the sheer motivation. But was there somebody in your family that kind of gave you tools, or who do you lean on for like mentorship starting out?
So, honestly, my story was that I was finding myself making decent money, being probably the success story out of my family because I decided to change the direction of my life. I found myself hitting rock bottom when I was every 2 weeks showing up at the payday loan place and paying them $300 to get another $255 back in order to keep it going, to figure out how to supplement my money because I wasn't doing things right. I know my dollars looked good, but what happened every 2 weeks didn't look good. So when I found myself sitting in the parking lot one day, waiting for them to open so that I could give them some more of my money, I figured I needed some change. So I started to look for resources in the area. And it just so happened I was connected with a church and they had a program called D Free. And it was simply just taking a look at your finances. And it was the best way to describe it is kind of like AA. It's a 12-step program. And it starts with looking at your why you are in the financial situation that you're in. It goes into looking at the microscope and figuring out why your financial picture looks the way it does compared to others. And then it goes into taking control of your finances. That looks like picking up the phone when those collection agencies call, stop being intimidated and sending them the voicemail. It consisted of taking back your power and having conversations and driving those conversations where they weren't telling you what you had to pay. You were telling them what you were able to pay based on the budget that you had. And I was so passionate about that because it empowered me to learn about my finances, take back my financial power, that I decided to become a trainer in that. And as I grew in the lifestyle of being a good steward of those finances, there was no way that I could let others fall victim to the same things that I fell victim to. And there was no way that with the money that I had, no matter what you have, you can still make good decisions. And I was determined because there's so many people out there that think they cannot get out of their financial situations. I was determined to speak to and reach as many people as I could.
No, that hey,
Awesome.
lost for words. But I tell you, so it just sounds like you've got an extra drive, a motivation, a push that most people don't have, right? So yeah, and obviously I'm sure starting from now till then, you've spoken with a lot of people. You have to refine your craft. Um, what do you say to people that really aren't motivated, or say they or think they are, but you can see it.
um, I don't want to curse, but I tell them get on their stuff. If you want to do something different, if you want different results, you got to change the way you do things. And that's simple, because the people that I work with, it kind of all ties together. If I'm working on someone's resume and they're saying they want to make, I want to make more money. Well, what are you doing with the money you have now? Let's talk about what you're budgeting and what's the outgoing and what's your expenses versus your income. Because I need to know that if you make more money, you're going to do something with it, with a value. Otherwise, you're going to continue squandering, and we're going to continue this cycle. And no matter how much money you make, you're going to stay broke. So let's get to the root of it. And that the passion for me is seeing single mothers who feel like they have no hope, but there's tools out here. And there's a huge gap between, that financial advisor title and those that are out here in the field that look like them, that have been where they have been, that are willing to reach back out and help because they've been there.
Hey, Devontae, what do you think about the financial advisor title, man?
Oh man, so I'm gonna curse because you didn't want to curse. They don't know shit. they don't know shit. It's like they have the, and I can say this because I work with financial advisors and I work with different levels of people, and then I started to learn what I learned. I'm like, you don't know this? Like, you don't know this? I didn't even go to school for this, and I know this. How did I not know this? But they have the title, and they work under someone who is mentoring them. So they're kind of learning as they're teaching you, but they're not really teaching you anything. They're just taking your money and investing your money. They're putting your money into different, categories and management kind of tools, but they're not really showing you kind of like that boots on the ground kind of approach I think you're doing. Is like, okay, let's actually get down to the budgeting. Where's your money? They're not doing that for you. They're just saying, okay, now you've done that work. I'm going to take this money and invest it for you. Mm-hmm. And I think we get hung on a title, and we go to see this person that has this important title, but we kind of lack that beginning process that you're doing a great job of doing.
Yeah, and I don't want to bash on financial advisors, the official titled financial advisors, but they learn how to make most money for themselves.
Yeah,
for the most part.
For the company.
Yeah, right. And that's what they're incentivized to do for the most part. But I love, to see somebody come up and just really give somebody the real information, right? Because you're not either restricted to the title, you're more freely to do certain things and be able to share information that, one, they may not know, like Devontae says, or two, if they share it, it may not be financial beneficial to them. Per se.
In the company's best interest.
Yeah. So exactly. When somebody wants to work with you, Shannon, what does that look like on day one?
Well, for the most part, it seems to be organically happening through the consulting. So initially, I'll tell you, because I had such a newfound strong financial foundation, I said, what does this look like for my kids? Because at this point, I had a daughter we grew up together, simply put, and she had to see me struggle. And I had to explain to her, because I was doing things different than my mom. When I asked for things, my mom was like, no, we don't have it. And I was like, well, why? Don't ask me why. So when that happened to me, as being transparent as I was in my financial journey and having to relearn things, I began to answer the questions of them. Why don't we have it? Well, let's sit down and let's talk about it. Rent looks like this. The energy bill looks like this. The car note looks like this. And my check looks like this. So how much is left? And I just made it a practical understanding for them so that they could get it. But then it was also, I was questioning myself, like, why aren't they teaching these things in school? This is something, you know, they're learning algebra and geometry and all of these things that you will probably never apply in life. So I began to question, what are you learning in school? Because if this is not what you're learning, I might need to go up there. And they were like, oh, Mom, don't go up there. No, what do you mean go up there? So as I established my business, I connected with some community partners who were already in the schools doing certain things like after school programs. So connecting with certain partners in the community, I was able to present to them the information that I learned on a very basic level, this kind of the information that I was teaching my kids. And they really thought it was a good idea to present this to the other kids because we were in an urban community and they knew where the kids were coming from. They knew the houses that they were stepping out of every day. So they invited me to come in and I began to go into the schools. So it first started with sharing the information at schools. I went into my kids' schools. They hated it. They hid from me, but they saw me coming and their peers actually loved it because I talked about things foundationally. What's the difference between a debit and a credit card? If you have your first job, what do these deductions look like? Or what is this W-2 form that you're getting? Or, you know, what is a bank account? What are overdraft fees? All of these things that we weren't taught because it was assumed we would know it, but we didn't learn it until we failed. These were the things that I wanted to push into the schools as much as I could. And it became over. I actually had to pull out because it became overwhelming. I still maintained a 9-to-5, but the demand was so high for this information and for my presence that I had to pull back. So it's still a passion of mine. And I do it, with personal connections where I'm able to, but it's still something that I really, really want to get to the kids who are just starting out before they get those first jobs.
I love it. I think that awesome. It ties like to who you are and what you've been doing. It sounds like you're focusing a lot on mindset and changing the way, not just how money is viewed, but how credit is viewed, how assets are viewed, and even self is viewed. Like you're kind of changing that stigma, like you said, because I know I heard that in my household too. Like credit is something you get over. Mm-hmm. You get a credit card to run that bad boy up, get some things that you want, and then cancel that bad boy. And it sounds like you're trying to change that mindset and that stigma around that for the better. Going into that, how much of a challenge was that for you when talking to people that look like us? Like, did you see it as I know it's definitely great you're doing it with the kids, because I think that's the entry point. I think that's a great place to start because the mind is more open. But is there a struggle and is it a challenge to get people that are closer, a little bit older and look like us to understand that?
It is. And I failed to mention, but when I did my presentations in school, I petitioned to invite the parents in because a lot of what those kids presented to me was generational. So it was passed down to them. For me, it just looked different. And because I had been there and I see people around me that are still in the struggle, I get it on the back end. It's people that are coming to me like, hey, I got denied for a credit card, or I get denied for an apartment. And so it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to fix your credit for you. I want to talk to you about your mindset, and let's start with budgeting and stuff. So our people are very resistant. And the greatest way to say what it is that mirror that you have to hold up, and that reflection is very, very heavy. It's very heavy to see where the problem stems. So we've got generational things going on, but it can stop with you. But are you willing to look at what you are doing with your finances? Because there are so many people that don't even check their bank account until they get a notification that their balance is under $25. And I don't, for the life of me, don't get it. I don't know. I'm tapped in to my money as much as I'm tapped into social media. And it's, the comparison now, it says social media, but previously people were just moving along, just surviving, just trying to figure out how to make ends meet. I don't want to make ends meet. I want to go far beyond what my mom did and what the person before her did. And then everybody who did it wrong, I want to do it differently. And then I want to teach my kids so that they can teach theirs. But it really starts with holding up that mirror. And that mirror for some is too heavy.
I got this, I hear this passion in your voice about, like what you really, really want. And I understand that very, very, very much so. Cause your story kind of sounds like mine, where you're thinking different than people who are around you. And I know personally, I went through like this, like a toxic relationship almost, where you like feel attached to someone, but you have to let yourself go from that person so you can expand and expound, and you can't take them with you. And when you try to take them with you, they think that you're actually trying to change who they are, but you're just trying to improve their life, the way you see yourself, your life being improving. Like, how was that experience for you? Was that traumatic for you? What was that like for you? Because I know it was. I still have instances where I play scenarios in my head where I'm like, I try to tell something about this, whatever, and they looked at me like I had lost my damn mind. And I thought it was like, no, you've lost your damn mind. Like, how are you not excited about this? You know what I'm saying? But what was it like that for you?
Like I said, my start was at a church. So we already know what the stigma is with church folk. So it was very resistant. It was resistant because those people are used to pulling out money and giving it to the church and then figuring out life later. So here I come saying, you need to figure out your life first and then pass on. It didn't go over very well.
Blasphemy.
They was about to pray you up out of there, girl.
And that's okay too, because I'll take me and my calculator elsewhere.
See, that's that petty. That's that petty.
You can't tell church folks nothing.
Right.
But that's what it looks like. I was met with a lot of resistance, but I had to meet them where they were. So I found some scriptures to tie it together.
Ooh.
And so I was speaking their language, and it just so happened that the curriculum, the D-free curriculum that I was instilling, it was based in the word and the message. So not only was I just speaking and being a presenter, I was being used as a vessel, but there was proof that they didn't have to trust me. It was in black and white. So if they say that they believed and trusted and followed the Lord, then here's your assignment. And all I was the vessel presenting the information. So, and even my peers, it was, you think you better than everybody because you're getting your credit together.
Wow.
Not really. And so do you want to get your credit together too? Because I'm here to help. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like this anymore. I kind of want to elevate. We all kind of think that the credit thing it's an optional, but it's not an optional, because when you say you have goals such as buying a house and living the American dream, you're going to rely on that credit. You're going to need that credit.
Can you say that one more time, please? I would appreciate that. Repeat that one more time. Credit is not optional.
I like the DJ voice too.
Let's be proactive instead of reactive. And that was the approach that I took. We can either fix it now, or you can get denied several times and I'll see you in a couple of years. So, I'm not going to beg you to give you this game. because it's free.
I love that part. I had to hit a bunch of walls with my people to say, you know what? I love you, but I will see you on the other side. You know, when you see what I'm doing and you want to get the game, come and holler at me, but I'm going forward, you know?
Keeping it moving.
Can't take everybody with you.
Don't want to either. It's heavy.
Ooh, talk that talk. Talk that talk. Talk that talk. I love it. So all right, man, damn, that's fire. That's fire. I want to go back a little bit to that, but I also want to touch on your journey through corporate, okay? Because you've been climbing some ladders. I've been watching you. You know, I watch you building. I watch you go work while you were also going to school. Because you're a Phoenix, right?
Huh?
Right? Huh?
What's that?
I said, are you a Phoenix?
Am I a Phoenix? Of course I'm a Phoenix.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I'm making sure. I'm bringing it up. Okay, so I watched your journey through that. So how did you get to where you are now in the corporate ladder? What was it like going through that system? Because I know you've had some ups and downs. We talked about this. So I know you had some ups and downs going into that. So, you know, what brought you, because I know you left the corporate space for a while as well.
I did.
Okay.
I did. It was too much.
Speak on that, because we're trying to find with our audience. We know there's a balance of people that are looking to be entrepreneurs, or are already entrepreneurs, but also people that are looking to be entrepreneurs, but have that corporate entity backing them and are scared to let go. And I know you dabbled in both fields. So, you know, give me something, you know, basically kind of start, you know, how you got there, what you went through that made you say it was too much, and then how you got back to where you are now.
Well, my corporate career kind of chose me. Out of high school, I decided to go to college. College started off like most. It was a big party. So I went to college and got a couple credits, and came back home. And I needed to figure out, because number one, I had a child. I had to figure out what life looked like. So I started at a temp agency. And a temp agency placed me at one of the larger healthcare systems in California. And I started off as a call center rep, answering phone calls. And my inquisitive mind, my analytical mind, just began to start asking questions. So I was asking questions, and I got promoted up within the healthcare field. And it's been over 20 years now, but I just kind of grew through healthcare administration by way of chance and by way of opportunity. So once I was connected, so kind of healthcare is kind of, once you're in there, you're in there. And because it's recession proof, who would want to leave it anyway? There's always going to be a need for healthcare, whether it's patient facing or administration, because you got to keep that revenue cycle going. So I was on the back end. I wasn't touching patients. I can't do the blood and the guts and all the fluids and stuff, but I was on the back end. And it worked for me because number one, it had numbers involved. And then two, it indirectly involved patient care. So if I'm bringing in the money and doing what I need to do, then we can, as a healthcare system, continue to provide quality care to patients. So I continued being passionate about the revenue cycle, because while people are my passion, I didn't want to be directly tied to it. So the healthcare administration field kind of just grew through me, and I grew through the ranks. And up until 2015, I really, really loved it, until I got into a healthcare system that was not friendly for the people of color, I ended up getting into, and I'll keep it honest, I think I was intimidating to a lot of the people that were not of color. My knowledge, my confidence, my presence, my desire to grow, it didn't sit well with people, because they felt like I was trying to take what they had, or their position. And there was a bit of a power struggle, because I had applied for, there's glass ceilings everywhere. But when I see them, I try to shatter them, because not necessarily it's a personal interest, but I want to see the organization do better. And that's, I'm gonna get my check every 2 weeks, but I still want to see the organization do better, because again, people are my passion. So in 2015, I joined the organization, and I feel like I got duped into it. I accepted a role. It wasn't necessarily what they had presented it as, and it became a challenge. So I started advocating for myself and letting them know, what my personal goals were, what my career goals were. And, when you put it out on the line like that, they're forced to make a decision, or they feel that they're forced to make a decision. So they made my work life very, very challenging. And I ended up taking a leave of absence just to get my mental health together. And after 3 months of intensive therapy, I rolled over one day in May of 2017 and resigned.
Wow.
I didn't have a plan. I had, at that point, 3 children. I had a house, I had a dog, I had a car, I had life going on. But because their issues became a burden on my personal life, I couldn't do it. And because of the faith that I had, I decided it's got to be something better. So at that point, when I rolled over and resigned in 2017, it was hustle mode. I had to figure out how, what, when, where. And for a year straight, I was Ubering, Uber, Lyft, hustling, Amazon, doing all of those things. And I worked literally 19 hours a day just to keep my family afloat. And one day it just dawned on me. Actually, I was at church and we did a spiritual gifts assessment, and it outlined administrative, encourager, support, all of the talents and gifts that I had felt that I had, but they were suppressed because I was giving myself to the corporate world. So when I had that assessment, it dawned on me that I need to operate in those gifts somehow. So, people are like, oh, get an LLC and do this and do that. And, you got to file with the EIN. And I'm like, that sounds great, but that's not where I'm at right now. So I just began to operate in those passions. I began to offer my services unofficially because I knew I wanted to get a business together, but I also wanted to kind of gauge what that looked like. So before I became an official business, I was doing business unofficially. So I was doing resumes, I was doing consultations, I was doing financial encouraging. I was out in the field working with community partnerships so that I could build those relationships so that if and when I were to establish a business, some things would already be in place. So in 2017, I started the ball rolling with my business. And that's how I took a break from the corporate world and decided to start operating in my gifts, talents, and my passions.
That's awesome. Damn, that's deep. And I love it because you really went into it just purely off passion and mindset that I'm gonna figure this out. A lot of people can't do that, especially with the weight you said you had on your back. 3 kids, house, car note, dog, all of that stuff is pressure. Man, and I know you said you had kind of a spiritual awakening. Did you do any, besides the therapy, which I want to touch on because for people of color, we got to get therapy. Stop fighting. I want to go back to that. But did you have any tools that help you build and have that mindset going into it? Did you get the tools from therapy? Or was it just, I'm so fed up with this, I just gotta
go? There were several things. Well, first of all, therapy showed me that I didn't have it so damn bad. There's some people that are really worse off than I am. But at the same time, I didn't want to get like them. And a lot of people are slaves to their work. And I know for one thing that if I were to have a heart attack, my position would be posted the very next day. So they didn't give a damn about me. So I needed to give a damn about me. And nothing really drove that other than take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Because if I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of my seeds. And there's no one else to take care of my seeds. So failing wasn't an option. Failing wasn't an option. So what drove me was that you have to figure it out, and it's by any means. So if you got to build it, then you got to do that.
You got me fired up right now. Make some calls. So, okay. So, all right, you took this break, you went into full-on hustle mode, start grinding. What brought you back to the corporate world? Because I knew you were having some success and things were moving. What brought you back?
So within that time period of hustling and doing Uber and Lyft and just running myself raggedy, I turned to my church because, again, that was my foundation. I was still very early in my faith, so I wasn't super connected. But because I had made the partnership with my financial education of some of the members, I was then already kind of tied in from the business standpoint. So it was presented to me to help support the church in an administrative way. And I regret it. Let's just say working in the back end of your church or working in the business side of your church is kind of like walking in on grandma without her wig on.
Oh, that's
So
a really good illustration.
Her hair is fake, but every time you see her, she's put together. You feel me?
Right.
So when you walk in and you see that she's not wearing her wig, that's not necessarily something you want to see, because you have this facade, this visual, this image that you have that you don't want tainted. And that was how I felt about working with my church. But I committed to a year of working with my church because I wanted, again, my organizational leadership said that they needed those services. They could use my gifts and talents. And if God gave me these gifts and talents, I wanted to give them back to him. And that was the way I felt like I could serve him. When I tell you $14 an hour for a year, didn't do it. That was when it was hustle mode never stopped. I put it on pause. But when I started getting those checks every 2 weeks, I was like, hustle mode activated again, because this is not going to cut it. This ain't it. So, so as I worked, I committed to a year, and I did that begrudgingly, but I was able to instill some process improvement. I was able to make some positive change, but I was ready to get up out of there. I just wanted to go on Sundays, praise the Lord, and leave.
None
of that other stuff. So at that point, because I knew how to hustle and because I knew that my family was going to be taken care of regardless, I decided to join the corporate world, but on my terms. So it's oftentimes people go in and they apply to everything that they feel like they're qualified for and hope that they'll be selected. I knew my talents. I knew my skill set. So I went in on the terms that I wanted. I will do this and I won't do this. I won't commute this far. This is what I want to do. This is what my structure looks like. And every opportunity that was presented to me that didn't look like that, I didn't take. So I ventured back into the healthcare field and on my terms. And it has now been about 2 years that I've been back, but I never let go of my hustle because my business is still thriving as a result of being committed to the corporate world, but never leaving the entrepreneur mindset behind. So right now I'm juggling both. And I'm at a point where I'm pretty happy with my career, although working with doctors is a little challenging. I'm able to find healthy balance, but I know that if I have to leave my corporate job, I can thug it out.
I want to go into a little bit with the doctors, right? Because I've worked in healthcare before too. And I work with angry doctors. So I was the corporate director of clinical engineering. So anytime any doctor even wanted to think about calling us, it's because something was broken. So what is your experience? Because it seems like you're now niche with doctors. What are your experience working with doctors, and how did you get to that point?
So doctors haven't changed. The experience is still the same. Because my strengths one of my strengths is relationship building. I wanted to be more front facing. It seems like I didn't see this in myself, but people told me that when I speak, people listen and I can become engaging. And I use that to my advantage because right now I'm working with contracting doctors so that when they join the organization, they come through me. I make sure that they're credentialed, their licenses are valid. All of those things are in line. Doctors still don't listen and they don't read. So you still have to walk them through everything. And that's a little bit frustrating because you think you operate on brains all day, every day, but you didn't read that email. All right. But working with doctors has been a pleasure because I've been able to, just soak up game from those in that world. And I wanted to speak to, forgive me, pronounce his name for me, Dreads.
Tavante.
Oh, Tavante. I work with contracting. So when you spoke of non-emergency medical transportation, one of my projects has been access to care. So that has been one of the areas where I was recruiting non-emergency medical transportation services for the Medi-Cal-based or county-based programs in the area. So one of my things, again, I'm a people person. So whether it's doctors or patients and relationship building, making sure that contracts look the way that they do and guidelines are followed, compliance, all of those things. I have my hand in quite a few things as it relates to the healthcare industry now, but working with doctors is the top priority in most of my days. That's awesome.
So I need to connect with you because
I was feeling what you were saying. I was kind of lost a little bit, but I think I get what you're saying. Is you want to connect? I think that would be dope because I'm looking to expand.
Yes,
so I'm like, yes, let's connect.
Make some connections.
And she in the A now, but I say so.
Are you in Atlanta?
Yeah,
I am.
Oh, you know what, man? That is so dope because my admin is moving to Georgia, and I've already been talking about expanding my services in Georgia.
Yes,
let's
connect.
Oh, that's like synchronicity right there. That's like awesome.
Real synergy.
Let's connect. I've got contacts with all the major health plans for sure.
Oh, awesome. We gotta talk. Definitely.
Yeah.
You had mentioned some things earlier, and I was going to hint on it. I can't remember what the heck I was going to ask you about.
So you got him thinking about expanding now.
My mind is like
way off here.
Let's wrap.
I think it was you're talking about how you go behind the veil, so to speak, and you see what's really going on, and you like, this is what's really going on. This is why, and I had the same experience when I was in a part of a church in Indianapolis, and I was really, really involved. And I came back home to Gary, Indiana, which I'm not sure if you know about Gary, but that's where me and Marcus are from. And Gary has a huge stigma about, Black folks. And I get it. I mean, I love my people, but it's true. We're slow here. We're like, there are things we do really well, but we're slow to progress. In places like California and Atlanta, Black folks are a little bit different. Their mindset is a little bit different, and people were just like, why are you going back to Gary, But I saw opportunity there. Long story short, when I was involved in Indianapolis in the church, there were, like, I did not understand like why we had so many resources in those communities, in those places. But it seemed like the information and the resources never get to the people. Like the energy, it goes one and then it just like disappears.
Yep.
And those areas that we call our church homes, they look great. The church looks great. The church is well taken care of. The lawn is manicured, everything, but around it looks like shit, And you're like, why are we not doing something about this? And you try to talk to them, and when you go behind the veil, you say, oh, now I understand. Now I get it,
Yeah. Some things you just don't want to see.
Yeah, you don't want to see it.
Yeah, so definitely. You mentioned it. Gary, Stockton, living in Atlanta. This has to be the blackest podcast going on.
That's right. That's right.
Like all the number ones.
I love it. I love it. So Shannon, so for you, like what's on the horizon for Shannon? What's the next big thing for Shannon Christopher and Shannon Christopher Consulting? Like, what's the next big goal?
So right now, the pandemic changed the game quite a bit. And what we're calling it right now in the career industry is called the Great Resignation. And people are moving along. As we've understood, when we were told that there are certain opportunities that are not afforded to us, when the pandemic came, we realized that those opportunities were readily available, but we weren't given the power or the access to them. Case in point, remote work. A lot of people were, they had challenges with home work-life balance, and we're told you can't work at home. Well, when the pandemic happened, what happened? Everyone's at home. So what were you telling me before, or what has happened now that wasn't an option before? So with the Great Resignation, because recently 2021 has been really big, and my career has, or at least the consulting has shifted to career consulting. Don't ask how, I just tell God to use me. And as people come to me for different things, I find ways to build them. And if building them consists of education, that's one thing. But practically, if your resume doesn't look the way it should, or if it's not attractive to help you elevate, then that's where we need to start. And that foundation is where I've been focused on this year, is helping build resumes and encouraging people to use the resources that are available to them. LinkedIn. People have LinkedIn pages that have been dormant for years. Why? That's the biggest, sir.
I'm being transparent. Don't jump on me.
We'll talk about that.
I'm lying, dang.
And I appreciate your transparency, but people like yourself and myself included, because I've been so focused on helping others, I've just not focused on mine. But as I have these conversations with people, I really want them to focus on what your career looks like. So I do career coaching. Let's talk about what your goals are. Let's identify what your gifts and talents and strengths are. Let's build your resume accordingly. Let's build your confidence so that when you present that resume to someone, if you sit it in front of someone, there will be no doubt that you're the best candidate, and it's up to them to choose you. So that for 2021, the Great Resignation, people are shifting. They're identifying their worth, because if you give everything to an employer and they don't value you, would you rather be miserable, or would you rather be uncomfortable in learning new things and venturing out and stepping out on faith and learning something new and joining a whole new organization? People are so tied to their jobs. I've been there 20 years. I'm not leaving. Well, why? Well, because I've been there 20 years. Okay. And what? So you get a check every 2 weeks, right? Okay. Are you learning anything new? No. Okay. So why are you still there? So the Great Resignation has awakened people to allow them to think that there's other opportunities. There's employers who would value them in a greater way, and that there's opportunities out there for them to grasp if they're prepared. And that's what it consists of. Like 4 million people have quit their jobs this year, and the year's not even over. And it's because they're finding that there are other employers that will value them. There's more money out there to be made. And if you network correctly, you'll be able to take advantage of all of those opportunities that are presented.
That's dope. That's dope. Do you find a lot of people who have been like, and it's kind of like segue from your conversation about this, what you call the what, maybe not what you call, but what is called the Great Resignation, and the people were employees for so long, and they slowly, before COVID, they were being shifted to being self-employed or being like 1099, because they were getting new jobs, they were getting 1099, but they weren't really equipped to be self-employed, because the mindset of an employee and someone 1099 is totally different, right? It's the Uber, the Lyft. Most of those folks kind of fall in that category. But then they failed, and then they blame the company or whatever. How do you help these people transition from that mindset of an employee to a 1099 or contractor, or those different? How do you help them with that?
We just talk through disciplines. It starts with a good foundation, and for me, just talk about what your goals are. Is it realistic that you work independently, or is it that you work better with structure? We kind of take a step back and look at what it is that you can offer someone, not what someone can offer you. And for me, it's talking to people, looking at that financial picture. Can you afford to be a 1099? Because some of those opportunities are not necessarily long-term, and people have an issue with security these days. If you can get a check every 2 weeks and you're treated like shit, I'll just take that check every 2 weeks and I'll keep it moving. Well, do you want something more for yourself? Because it's perfectly fine to thrive in employment with structure and security. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to do something different, my suggestion is just to assess what your life looks like, and if that fits into your puzzle. Because if it doesn't, then for me, do it on the side. You can still do a 9 to 5 and a 1099, get those W-2s and W-4s and get all that money. You don't have to make a choice.
Yeah. I like that you're helping people kind of make that slow shift into it, not the huge jump. Because I think we all think we got to make the jump, but sometimes that's not the best decision. Sometimes it is a slow progression into it,
And a lot of times it feels like I've become a therapist or a sounding board, because people just want to talk. And we start with resumes, and it's like, well, I ain't been able to do this in years. And it's like, okay, well, I'll take the opportunity to coach you through it. And sometimes they just need affirmation, and they'll call me and they're not sure about things. And I'm like, hey, if you want to do it, then let's do it. But you got to go full on. If you don't want to do it, pull back. If you want to do it, but you're not sure about it, let's gradually get into it, but let's talk through it. Most of my weeks now are coaching people, just having conversations with people. As a matter of fact, this evening, I'm talking to someone who had an assignment last week of just collecting their receipts so that they can see what their money is being spent on. Because if you're talking about elevating your business, so you're self-employed, but you're finding that you can't make ends meet, there's no reason for that. So let's just take this exercise. Let's collect your receipts for a week, and then we'll look at it. And she's procrastinated we were supposed to meet on Tuesday. What's it, Thursday? That mirror is heavy. And I know those receipts don't look good, but that's the process that we have to take. And if you call me, and JD will tell you, I'm gonna hold you accountable. So if you call me, I'm gonna call you on it. And I'm gonna encourage you. I'm gonna support you, but I'm gonna hold you to the task, because you came to me, I didn't come to you. So clearly you want to make some change, and I'm here to help, but don't waste my time, because I got changes of my own to make.
She is not lying.
But I'm here to help.
Definitely. No, I think it's the way you do it, the way you balance, because you are very good at connecting with people and meet people at where they are. So I think you have a very nurturing approach, but at the same time, a very serious approach. So I think you're and that's one of the things I always hear you say, and it sticks in my mind, is be intentional. Be intentional about what you're doing. Like, do not play about it, because this isn't working on your finances, your business, your career, whatever that is. It's serious. If you really want to change, you have to be serious about it. So I love your approach about that. So I totally agree. You are on point with that. Real quick, I want to touch on you mentioned something about feeling like you're people's therapist now, and you gotta, like we talked about it earlier, you helping them change their mindset. So I want to go back to you and your experience with therapy. I want to know what took you there, what made you say that this is something I need to do, the benefits that you found from it, and then I want to see what's your opinion on why our people are so scared to do it.
So I'll be honest. My breaking point was the day before I went on leave. I had to physically restrain myself from coming across the table at this woman.
Say that.
Physically. And I literally held on to the handles of my chair and I said, I need someone to call human resources now because I want them present. On that day, when I realized that I had lost control emotionally and that I felt a desire to physically harm someone, I needed to get help. Because the way that this woman talked to me, she felt entitled to. She felt like she could for whatever reason. And because of that, the respect that I had given her up until that point, I wanted to touch her. I just wanted to put hands on her.
Bless you. Bless you.
But
hallelujah.
I wanted to touch her. I wanted to let her know. I wanted her to feel me. And at that point, it was a Friday. I simply packed up my things and I went home. And everything from there went downhill. It was my demeanor had changed. My attitude had changed. It was something in my soul that was stirring that said that I needed her to understand. I needed her to feel me. But then I took that home and I kept taking that home. And that was, I have kids at home and they didn't do anything to me to deserve the cold shoulder that I gave them. And because of my journey and my self reflection and understanding that I needed to do better in so many ways, I figured I needed to fix it because it wasn't their fault. And I was being of no use to them. I was going home and laying down because I felt so defeated, because I felt like the microaggressions in the workplace, the privilege that was displayed, the lack of accountability, all of the things that were not at fault of mine were taking a toll on me. So I immediately called EAP. Most employers have an EAP line, and that's their resources that will provide you financial advice, crisis advice. They'll give you resources and tools. And for me, the tool that I needed at that time was 3 free therapy sessions. So I didn't have to use my benefits. I just needed to call them and get a referral. And when I sat down and talked to the therapist that they connected me with, they said, what's more important, your mental well-being or the job? And I thought about it. And, my first thought was, it's the job because I got a family to support. So they brought it to my attention that if you are not mentally well and you happen to break down, do you know your job will be posted tomorrow and you'll be somewhere in the hospital? And it was an awakening for me. So I continued to talk through what it was that I was feeling, because at that point, this was the height of Black Lives Matter. This was at the height of, the conversations about equality. These were having conversations about what it looked like for workplace violence that wasn't necessarily physically violent. And all of those things rang true for my experience. And I had my doctor write a note and take me off of work. And fortunately, I had benefits available, so I was able to draw disability. And at that time, I just focused on me. There was therapy, individual therapy. I went to group therapy. I went to intensive outpatient therapy. It was because I needed to realign myself. I needed to recalibrate my mind. And I also needed to make some tough decisions about whether or not those folks deserved me. And when it came down to the 3 months where I had to make a decision, because those benefits ran out as far as disability goes, and I had to make a decision, and I cried and I worried and I cried. And finally, I said, I got to do something different. So that's the day that I woke up that morning, where, it was basically, hey, Shannon, you either come back to work or we've got to find somebody to fill your position. So I rolled over, sent that email and told them I won't be back.
When you hit sin, was it weight off your shoulders?
So much weight. Without a plan in place, there was so much weight. That burden had been lifted.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
So knowing that you got that much help out of it, why do you feel we resist going through it?
Black people have historically always felt like what goes on in this house stays in this house. I don't need nobody to tell me nothing about myself. You know, that old thing. And that's how it's been because we've been so protective of our family. Back in the slave days, it was just pray about it. You know, we was praying to the God to save us and praying to the God to free us. And that's always been the mindset for people and families of color. So they like to keep it in the family. They don't like to put nobody in your business. And we've got to get out of that because we're not solving anything. We're just creating generational cycles that are unhealthy. I don't want to call it a curse. It's a cycle that's unhealthy, and that we've got to be able to seek the resources that are available to us. And now that we've got more Black therapists, we should be able to connect with them healthily and with security, and being able to be comfortable with sharing our struggles so that we can be better.
Love it. I love it. Okay, so damn, this is deep. This is good.
Yeah,
this
it was
is
a good show.
fire. We could keep going on, but we at about an hour. We like to try to keep it at an hour, and I know it's getting late over there in the A, and it's getting late for Devontae. Usually getting sleepy on us and yawning by now.
I'm up in the line though right now.
You vibing right now.
I'm not sleepy today.
I'm not gonna lie, you is. So, but we want to wrap it up, so we want to hold you up more. So, being that this is a Triple Profit podcast, give me 3 things of advice that you would want to give to, whether it be a single mother out there that's going through some of the things you went through, someone that's trying to juggle their hustle mode between the 9-to-5 and entrepreneurship, someone maybe struggling with that. Give me just 3 things of advice that you would give somebody to encourage them.
Pay attention to your finances. It is important. That is the foundation of your success. That's 1. 2, it's okay to seek therapy. We need it. We shouldn't have to carry the entire burden. There are resources that are available for us. So utilize those resources. And 3rd, I don't know if you can read my shirt.
A
It's
billion
a billion
ways to get it.
So don't limit yourself to those options that you have, because they are limitless. And if you want to get ahead, there's nothing stopping you.
Oh, I love it. Dope podcast. No, that was a dope episode. Drop the mic. Devontae, you got anything else to add?
No, I'm just happy to have met you, Shannon.
Nice.
And I'm excited to connect with you afterwards. We got to exchange information and talk. Again, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Big brother Marcus, anything?
Yeah, definitely for everybody out there watching today, who's about to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Shannon, can you tell them how to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. My website is www.shannonChristopherconsulting.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Shannon Christopher Consulting. Please don't request me as a friend on my personal page. You don't want these issues. And also on Instagram, at Shannon Christopher Consulting.
You don't. She a lot nicer on her business page than she is on her personal. So definitely follow her business one.
Keep business and personal, keep them separate.
Amen. All right, shoot. Well, hey, people, thank you guys for joining us. Once again, Shannon, thank you for joining us, dropping so many jewels we couldn't keep count. As Marcus said, hit like, hit subscribe, and we will see you guys